Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast.
That was not planned.
No, it wasn't. But it just popped into my head. We mentioned it the other day. It just came up in conversation. Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's an improv comedy show. And it's just been popping up on my YouTube, and I've been watching some clips of it. And one segment that keeps coming up is when the two actors are like improv saying the same thing. Obviously, we knew what we were going to say because it's the same introduction, but you've got two actors being like, so how, but you know, and blah, blah, blah. But they're also making jokes at the same time.
Yeah,
and
it's very funny.
Anyway, welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast, episode 102. I'm your co-host, Adam Charles, with Kieren Lefebvre. We are talking about the danger of self-defense.
Self-defense is dangerous. You should not do it. Anytime anyone is trying to harm you in any way, just let them do it.
Yeah,
it's more dangerous. it's more dangerous to defend yourself.
It's more dangerous to try to defend the self.
So don't do it. Just let them do it.
Yep. Just be cooperative.
Yeah.
Right. Hands up. Mm-hmm. Pants down. You'll be fine.
And if you have any complaints against anything we say on this podcast, direct it toward Alliance Sydney BJJ.
Kieren, do you want a job as answering emails at the gym?
Yeah, I'll send you my invoice.
Yeah, so we're talking about this because recently, maybe the Australian, I would argue that not even all the Australian listeners would be aware, but recently here in Australia, in Brisbane, which is one of the main cities for international listeners, we've only got like 5 of them in Australia. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, in Australia, we've got Sydney, Melbourne, which are the 2 main ones. Then you've got Brisbane, and then you've got Adelaide and Perth. They're like your main cities. Dude.
Yeah.
Bro. But I was thinking about it. I was like, man, the US, like I'm not even from the US. And
what about Darwin, Hobart? Come on, man. Sorry,
dude,
I'm thinking about the cities.
Yeah,
Newcastle?
there are more cities than those 5. I'm just saying they're the main cities. But when you compare that to the US, we're not even American, and you could go, okay, well, you got.
I could name more American cities than Australian cities.
That's right. I could name New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Diego.
Yeah. Wait, isn't that a state?
San Diego.
I'm joking. The San Diego Zoo.
They do have a zoo there.
Madagascar. I learned that from Madagascar.
I hear it's good. Anyway, so in Brisbane a few weeks ago, there was a fatal stabbing at like 4 a.m. or something in a train station, and it horrifically was filmed, and the video went viral for a little while. I'm told I had the unfortunate experience of seeing the video because I had someone show it to me, just be like, man, watch this.
Yeah.
Not
no
really
context. Watch this.
Not really knowing what I was watching.
Yeah.
And I believe it is since,
you'd always find it.
Yeah, you could probably always find it, but I did hear someone say, I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know.
Not looking hard enough.
Yeah. Anyway. And apparently stabbings happen quite often here, more often than they get reported in the news. And I guess you could say it happens more in Australia and countries like England and stuff where they have stricter gun laws because I don't know. I guess stabbings probably still happen in the US, but
definitely
there's also a lot of shootings because people can just get their hands on weapons and guns. But here in Australia, it's very difficult to get guns, right?
Yeah, not impossible.
So yeah, and this video was really like horrific. Like the guy just died so quickly. And it really, for me, I saw it and it was this massive eye-opener of how quick it can be. It was just one cut, right? This guy just walked up to a dude and the guy had the knife and he just like slashed it and it hit him in the carotid artery in his neck and he was gone in like 10 seconds. Like he had just, like the movies, man, blood squirting and just fell over in a pool of blood and gone just that fast. And so with that, we had one of the guys who trains at our gym who works with training like tactical divisions of the police. So for lack of a better term, he trains like SWAT teams in tactical exercises and drills and whatever. So he did some knife defense for us, which I personally don't teach a lot of self-defense in jiu-jitsu. I do sometimes for the beginners, but it's more your very basic, this person's hugging you from behind, or they got you in a headlock, or a drunk person tries to punch you, very basic self-defense, which is great for learning fundamental jiu-jitsu movements, right?
When you said this person's hugging you from behind, I was thinking, fuck, can't wait to try this on mum.
Slam.
Like that. I dare you hug me. I don't know why my mind went there. Sorry.
I don't know why your mum hugs you from behind, but whatever.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we did some knife self-defense stuff, and it was cool because unlike a lot of, if you just typed in knife self-defense on YouTube, you're going to get a lot of those, where this guy goes for this big lunging telegraphed attack and upper block and whatever. Yeah. And whereas what we looked at, I've never trained Krav Maga, but I believe it would be more in line with what they do, which for anyone who's not sure, Krav Maga being like what they train the Israeli in the army / special forces. And it's essentially like a military combat. So it is very to do with weapons and guns and things like that. And it's much more realistic. And that's what we did in this class. So it wasn't this big lunging thing. It was more how you would see it in a film in prison where someone shanks you. That's kind of how it happens. And it was really cool because this was off the back of this viral video that, again, not everyone saw, and some people didn't even know it happened. But yeah, that video really showed how quickly it can happen. And it was just, the approach was really cool. It was more about, hey, look, you're going to get cut, but it's about not getting cut in the important places. And then how do you go about essentially diffusing the situation? The reason I wanted to label this the dangers of self-defense is because I kind of just stopped to think about it, and I thought, well, I'm not saying don't do self-defense, but the worry that I have is that when people do this little, get empowered 8-week self-defense course, and you get given this sort of like false sense of security that you can then defend yourself. And even if the techniques being taught are legitimate, worse if you're getting taught bullshit techniques and then you think you can defend yourself. But remember when we were talking about the headgear that rugby players wear, and you said they'd done studies saying that it actually promotes more head trauma because people have this false sense of security that it's protecting them. And I thought, well, let's take something from jiu-jitsu and think, let's say like, I don't know, whatever technique, a bearing bolo, okay? I probably haven't done one live in a roll for a good 6 weeks. I can do bearing bolos, but they're not part of my game. I don't often do them. I'm a pretty big guy. Yeah, I can invert, but I don't really do bearing bolos. If all of a sudden today I decided I wanted to do a bearing bolo, I'd probably be a little out of practice and I might like mess it up a little bit. The point I'm trying to make is it only takes a very little amount of time of not drilling something and practicing it for it to kind of become rusty. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, hang on, a bearing bolo is a very complicated technical technique. It's quite difficult to do. It's like, yes, that's true, but there's nothing on the line. If I'm talking about self-defense with a knife, if it is not like your life is on the line. So if it's not something you regularly practice and can do, autonomously without thinking about it, like, because think with your jiu-jitsu techniques, it's really before it gets successfully implemented into roles, successfully, it kind of has to have gotten to the point where it happens on intuition. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally.
So imagine if you're now taking a scenario where it's, someone trying to stab you or something. I don't know if you don't regularly practice those sort of, obviously you can't regularly go out and find someone to try stab you for real, but I mean, something like Krav Maga, like they do quite, from what I'm told, I've never trained it, but from what I'm told from people who trained it, and we've got some students who were ex-Israeli special forces, and just seeing it on YouTube and whatever, they do quite aggressively train it with the rubber knives, or I've seen other drills where you essentially use, in place of a knife, you essentially use like a Sharpie. So every time you get cut, like at the end, you can see all the Sharpie marks on you where you would have been cut, right? So they quite aggressively train full contact knife fighting drills situations. So if you don't train it regularly, I feel like you could have this false sense of security that you would be okay, but when shit hit the fan, you wouldn't be. It wouldn't be practice. It would be like you haven't done a bolo in however long, and then you try it and you fuck it up horrendously. But now instead of just getting your guard pass, you got stabbed.
I totally agree.
But I also just want to wind it back. I'm not saying there's no value in doing it. Like, of course, it's the dream situation is that you never find yourself in that situation, but
you're right. Sometimes those courses and that training, if it's not taken to the level that it needs to, it can give you a false sense of security. An example that you gave at the start that I want to, come back on, and apologies if we've already spoken about this, because I think we have, is like those 8-week or even less, like learn self-defense in a weekend sort of courses, or like do 4 weekends and then you're good to go, you're empowered. And I'm not going to, say any more on that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Some of those courses teach people to, like, if you're being attacked, get on your back and do up kicks, and, that's your guard effectively. Nah, man, you don't want to be on the ground. Yeah. You want to run. You want to fucking run. And if like you can't run, and then you could like revert to this. But some people, not all people, but some people would do a 4-weekend course like that. And then they would feel, if they're ever unfortunate enough to be in that situation, they may default to be like, oh yeah, I know what to do. I need to get on the ground and like up kick this person. And then they just get smashed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas like if they didn't have that training, maybe they would have ran, or maybe they would have done something else, or like just thrashed, or like, so I get what you're saying in terms of like doing your example with the berimbolo, trying to implement a berimbolo into a role. Yeah, you have to drill it a lot. It has to become autonomous, and it takes a lot of fucking practice and a lot of live drilling. And that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, is that you can go 100%. But if you do something with, self-defense or like knife self-defense, and it is one of those like, telegraph big lunge and then you up block, X block, because they do that shit in the military as well. Yeah. And it's all, most of it's ridiculous, like in the Australian Defence Force, that is, so I shouldn't blanket so military. And it will give you a false sense of security, and maybe you will do the wrong thing. So
yeah, because
can be dangerous.
Yeah, I think like what you said is the perfect way to put it. You need a huge amount of live drilling and repetition with real resistance, which, yeah, we love about jiu-jitsu. You're able to do that. But a lot of these, even if it is worse if the technique is just dog shit. That's then just straight up
big dojo.
Yeah, fraudulent self-defense teachings. But even if the techniques are legit, if they're not trained with resistance, okay, you can't ever legitimately train unless you're willing to put your life on the line. You can't legitimately train weapon fighting, right? That'd be incredibly dangerous, but at least, again, from what I've seen and been told, things like Krav Maga, they do train full contact with the rubber knives, right? It would still hurt if someone like jabbed you with a rubber knife, right?
I was even thinking the Sharpie example, like if you had a Sharpie and someone smashed you in the ribs with a Sharpie.
Yeah, it would hurt a lot.
Fucking hurt. It could break your rib, I reckon. If you hit it in the right spot, it would fucking hurt a lot.
So, and it really just came to light when we did this stuff with at the gym with the knife defense, that the overall approach of the teaching was just very realistic, with the whole, like, because you see a lot of these self-defense teachings, and whether it's knives or not, and they just go, yeah, but like I would do this, I would do this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas this training we did was you're going to get cut. 100% you're going to get cut. You know, like I saw one that was about very military style, if someone had you from behind with a knife to your throat sort of thing. And it was literally like what they're teaching you is you're going to grab the blade with your hand. Yeah, you're going to lose those fingers, but then hopefully you're going to do this and better to lose the fingers than the neck and things like that. Like that's really kind of how it would happen, right? And
fuck you, that's super realistic. You wouldn't see that on like a, you know, I don't want to throw any martial arts out there, but those martial arts, not Krav Maga, but the ones that, you know what I'm talking about, that were like, oh, grab the wrist and break here and do this.
Yeah.
You're dead, bro.
Yeah.
You're fucking dead. You try to do that, you're dead.
And this, first of all, anything to do with weapons, I'm out of there, 100% out of there. And even the training that we did with the guy who trains the tactical division, it was all about if you can't get away. He's like, if I'm any further than X, if I'm like whatever 2 meters or more away, and I can see they have a knife, he's like, I ain't going anywhere near them. You know, it's like I'm out, I'm running, I'm gone. You know, it's all if you can't get away, is your back against a wall, are you surrounded, or did it come out of nowhere, or whatever? Because this video that went round, the guy, did you see it?
No, fortunately.
The guy who had the knife was out in clear view. So it wasn't like he pulled out a concealed knife.
Yeah.
He had it in clear view out in front of him. And for quite an extended period of time, he was trying to walk away. The dude with the knife, like it seemed like I couldn't really hear the dialogue, but it was like two groups of people arguing and however it started, no idea. But it was clear, at least from this 1 minute video, that the guy with the knife was trying to walk away. And this other group just kept following him, kept walking up on him. And then it got to a point where, and he had the knife the whole time, right? But they kept following him. And it got to a point where he just like stood his ground. One dude walked up on him, and the guy like slashed out with the knife, and the guy like pulled his head back and just missed him. And then so seeing that, this second guy just walks straight up to him, hands by him side, just walks up as if he's like some big staunch dog bouncer, and the guy just goes whoop, and it just goes think in his neck. Oh, and that's it. Like so quick. So, I think as well, it kind of, that video alone shows like why, man, I was just dumbfounded watching it going, why were you chasing the dude with a knife? Like, why did you walk up to him? You didn't even have your hands up. Like, I don't know. It just got me going down this thought process of how easy it can be to falsely inform someone about self-defense. And even if you teach them the right techniques, if you don't teach them the reality of how self-defense happens, like I'll give you another example. Obviously, sometimes it is like the movies where one punch or one hit can knock someone out, or even, there's all been the really sad stories of where some dude's been drunk hit and that one punch has killed them. I actually recently watched, if you've seen...
What they call it, the coward punch, where they come up behind, punch them in the back of the head, they hit the pavement and die.
Yeah, so there was one, I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel. I think it's called, let me double check it, because if I give the wrong one, it's going to sound really crap.
We're going to get sued.
No, I actually really like that they
Jamie, bring that up.
Lad Bible.
So, the Lad Bible.
Yeah.
You had to look up Lad Bible?
Yeah, because I wasn't
They
sure.
started as an Instagram page. Super famous.
But they have really good interviews and stuff on their YouTube channel. So they've got one that'll be like, 15 minutes with ex drug smuggler, and then it's him or her talking about how they used to smuggle drugs, and one that's 9 minutes with a schizophrenic, him talking about. One's really cool that's with an ex-sniper talking about his tours in Iraq. But anyway, they had one recently that was, I killed a man with one punch, and it was a guy who when he was 20 or something, drunken with his mates, there was a fight, punched this dude once, and it killed him. So sometimes like that can happen. However, that is the rarer form. So you're often taught these self-defense things where you're like, here, and then I'm going to knee him, and then like, you know, and then like groin punch and whatever. I got in a fight once, one of the only street fights I've been in, and we've probably spoken about this at some stage, but it was essentially me, my wife, and my brother against 20 dudes cornered in a tram, like a train. And they were even like punching my wife in the head, like climbing over the seats to punch down on top of her and stuff. Anyway, there was a point in this altercation where at the time I actually didn't train jiu-jitsu. I trained Muay Thai. And this guy hit me, just like your big classic like hook.
Haymaker, yeah.
Yeah, hit me. And then I turned back and I clinched him and I just did a full Muay Thai like whack, like a knee to the head, you know. And you'd think, you know, if you've learnt a self-defense class or seen any movie, he was either going to go flying or like with adrenaline and everything, it didn't even phase him, bro. Okay, maybe my kneeing abilities were
yeah, maybe you missed.
Yeah, maybe I missed. Maybe I'm really shit. You know, don't get me wrong. Can a knee to the head? Can a punch to the head? Can a headbutt to the head? Can it knock someone out? Of course it can, but it's like not guaranteed, you know? And I think circling back to what I was saying before, you can be teaching the correct self-defense techniques, but if you're not teaching the reality of how a fight can go, you know, and the fact that it's not necessary, you know, how quickly a knife can kill you, or how quickly a punch can knock someone out, but it's not necessarily like they might keep coming. I mean, there's videos of dudes like being able to fight through getting tased, or there's videos of people still fighting through being pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
You know, so when adrenaline comes into it, or, you know, drugs, you know, whether it's alcohol or, you know, amphetamines, even worse in terms of what then people are capable of. I think that's where it's dangerous. And that's what I really liked about the stuff we did at the gym the other day. Just the reality of, hey man, if I'm 2 meters or more away, like I'm getting the F out of Dodge, but it's, you know, if I can't, you got to understand, like you are going to get cut 100%, you know? So I forget these Bruce Lee, I'll kick the knife out of his hand. Like, man, you're going to get cut, you know, but anywhere, you know, as long as you're not your neck and your vital organs. And so it was just cool. And everything we did was really like it was realistic in the sense that we did it full contact. Like it was super forceful. So even, you know, when it was like, okay, I'm going to, you know, close the distance here. I need to control the weapon wielding arm, you know, like it was really like lunging at that arm like you would be almost hitting someone or shooting a double leg or something. It wasn't this like, hey, wha, cha, wha, you know, it was really like, bam, man, like you got to go, you got to get it. And we trained it really kind of like smash, thud, kind of how I've seen Krav Maga trained anyway.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And what I was thinking about there is like that illusion that some people particularly, well, not particularly, but in my experience, a lot of women have that don't train. They're like, oh yeah, but if I was attacked, I'll just groin strike. And I know I've mentioned this before, but like you said, man, I reckon I could cop a bunch of shots to the fucking nads before, like in adrenaline, I mean, you might feel it, but you're just going to keep going. So you're not going to stop an attacker purely with one groin strike.
No, not at all. Like it would have to be, shot. Testicle splitting.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
and even then, like, I don't know.
Don't you reckon there's also, when you get hit in the groin, when there's any form of adrenaline, and I mean any, like even if I'm just having an intense role, not even a competition,
it doesn't phase like you as much.
Well, it phases you, but it's almost like your body goes, I'm just going to hang on to that pain for a little bit.
Yeah.
I just push that. It's almost like
yeah.
It just puts it on hold.
Yeah.
You know, and then the second that adrenaline, you know, or you get the tap or whatever, then that pain like, comes. And then you're like, bro, I'm out, you know. Yeah. But if I'm having a friendly role, that pain is at the forefront instantly, you know, but if you...
Yeah. I remember like recently there was this guy that came into the gym. He's very, very first class as a white belt. And you were coaching him. He's drilling on me or like training with me or something. And you were coaching him to take my back. And we're sort of, you know, I was allowing you to coach, like allowing it to happen. And you're like, no, you got to get your hook in. You got to get your other hook. for back control. He swings his leg around full force and his heel strikes me dead center in the groin. It is the most amount of pain I've had from a groin strike in my life. It was so painful. I was sweating. I nearly cried. People were like, "You okay?" I'm like, "No, bro."
That's right. I remember that.
And it was like literally because I was just chilling, like back and whack, like a full kick. It hurt so bad, man.
Yeah. Saying you almost cried. I almost cried the other week. Definitely one of the most painful. What would I say? I don't want to use the word injuries. Definitely one of the most painful impacts or whatever I've had in training that didn't result in it being a full-blown injury.
Got you.
Was a few weeks ago. I was standing and I went for a collar drag. And as I sat down for the collar drag, instead of successfully landing the collar drag, the person I did it on, their knee just came straight down onto the inside of my shin. And it felt like getting hit in the shin on the inside of my shin. So not on not even on the nice hard bony part. It's all bone, but you know what I mean? What you mean. Man, it felt like getting hit in the shin with a baseball bat or it felt like someone dropped a kettlebell on my shin. Man, I almost cried. It was just, that kind of similar to when you get hit in the groin, that sort of pain where for some reason your body tells you that you need to keep moving to get rid of the pain. And I was just rolling around on the ground. I was like, oh, fuck, man. Oh man.
You're sweating because of all the pain.
I can't remember, but it was rough.
Ugh.
But yeah. Anyway, but I just struck them in the groin. Man, it actually, with adrenaline and stuff, you'd be surprised.
You'd have to be a really good shot. Particularly if you're the smaller person, if you're
And what if they've got small nuts?
Yeah. What if they don't have nuts?
Then you're screwed.
Why are you assuming?
If you're going up against Kuba, you're fine.
Yeah. He's got balls of steel, man.
Mentioned him before, but Kuba gets hit in the nuts. He can be hip escaping and he gets hit in the nuts.
He actually called me out because he was like, "Oh, thanks for sharing that with the world."
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So we did it again. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. Bro, people every
Wednesday,
every time we record,
Wednesday is package delivery.
You
day.
wouldn't have heard it, but someone buzzing on Kieran's door again every single time we're recording.
They only gave one little buzz. It's all right.
Yeah, they'll be back. Yeah, so it's I don't know. Let's pushing aside fake martial arts and bullshit techniques. Obviously, that's not good, no matter how much you're drilling it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just that sort of. I've just went down that thought process of, man, you really need to train something a lot of repetitions, a lot of realism in it for it to become instinctual and autonomous and for you to be able to do it intuitively. And, with not many people, even with legitimate self-defense techniques, train it like that, So then when push comes to shove, people are going to think they're good when they're not.
I don't see how. Sorry to shit on it so much because like you said, it's better than nothing. But I don't see how a weekend course is going to help you in 2 years. You know what I mean? You do a weekend course on this is how you defend yourself, and then even 12 months, even a month later, you're in that situation. Are you going to be able to do it? No, you're not. You're just not.
But you know what I would equate that to if you're talking about just one of those little weekend courses? It's kind of you could say the same thing about doing a first aid course.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Fair. They say, let's take CPR. They say doing CPR even incorrectly is better than doing nothing, is what they say, right?
Yeah.
Someone gets out a sledgehammer, it's better than nothing. But they say even if your timing for the compressions are wrong, and because it always changes whether they say to do breaths or not breaths or after how many compressions, and it's different in the US as it is to here. But I believe, at least when I last did my course 2 years ago, or whatever it was, I believe internationally it's quite well known that they say doing something is better than nothing, right? So you could argue the same sort of thing. Okay, well, doing something's better than nothing.
Those situations are semi-comparable,
but the dangers are in if that person then takes that weekend course of self-defense and thinks that they are qualified. You know, it would be dangerous. You know, so if we're talking CPR, if I'm there going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I know this is better than nothing, that's fine. But if I've done a first aid course 2 years ago and then something happens, I'm like, everyone step back.
I'm trained. I'm a professional.
I've got this.
Yeah.
Paramedics, you're not needed. I've got this.
Here's my certificate.
Yeah. They're like, that expired months ago. You know, that's when it's dangerous, right?
Yeah, totally.
But, you know, ideally, we don't find ourselves in these situations. We're quite fortunate living where we live that I say that off the back of the episode where only a city away this stabbing happened. But I don't know, man. I'm told it happened. I'm told from someone who's in the police force that it happens quite a lot, stabbings, but you just don't hear about it. It's not reported very often. But in my entire lifetime in Australia, so I've lived Australia, Canada, Brazil. In Canada, I never got into any sort of
way too friendly.
Dude, they're so nice in Canada. Canadians are so friendly. Chad, just the nicest dude in the gym, isn't he?
Yep.
Chad's Canadian.
Yep. Yeah. Big lumberjack.
Brazil, never had anything. And in Australia, I've only ever had, I think, 2 or 3 sort of altercations, let alone fights, if you will. I think maybe only like one fight, which was the one where it was a group of dickheads ganging up on me, my brother and my wife. So for me, where I live in the world, it doesn't happen very often. I'm sure some parts of the world it's much more likely to happen. But yeah, I don't know, just try not to get stabbed, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your chances?
Of running, very good. I'm pretty fast,
so
nimble on my feet. Yeah, if I was with my fiance, she's pretty fucked, but I can run. I can run a lot faster than her.
That's it. You just got to be able to run faster than the next person.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you were in the Navy, that was prior to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Even then, like, because in my experience, jiu-jitsu, or let's just say combat sports, we've spoken about this in other self-defense related episodes where I put jiu-jitsu in with wrestling and boxing and Muay Thai. They're full contact combat sports where you actually train the sport with impact and resistance. I'm like, well, some karates are, but you know, they're even Taekwondo, right? The guy who got bloody disqualified in the Olympics for kicking too hard.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Where was I going with this, Kieren?
You said, what's your thoughts on, and then you went
on.
Oh,
yes. Yep. So, thank you. I knew you were here for something, right?
I pushed the button.
So, where was I going with this thing? No. So, I find jiu-jitsu for a lot of people tends to be, or combat sports tend to be that sort of eye-opening of, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not. I mean, I did years of Hapkido first, was the first ever martial art I got exposed to, which was fine. You still learn a lot of valuable things like base, coordination, balance, flexibility, all those sorts of things. But then I went from there to Muay Thai, and that first time I ever actually got punched or kicked, I was like, oh man, like there's a shock to my system. So jiu-jitsu does, or combat sports do that for a lot of people. You were in the Navy prior to jiu-jitsu. So when you were learning any of the combat techniques they taught, were you already looking at it with a sort of, this is a load of BS? Or
I didn't learn a thing.
Oh, you didn't learn anything?
Not once.
Nothing?
Not a single course, not a single class, not a single explanation.
Was
nothing,
that just...
Not a single thing.
But
you got to think, like, I'm on a warship.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that because of the branch that you
Man,
were
even
in?
if I pick up a rifle, there's shit going down. Like, in my particular...
What do you mean? Sorry. Like,
I
don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Like, seriously, I've done, like, very, very, very basic, like 1 week of rifle training. And then every year you got to do what's called a trade test, where you got to strip the weapon and show that you can strip it, load it, unload it, clear the chamber if there's a obstruction, and that's it. And it literally takes like 2 seconds, and they show you how to do it before you do it, in my position anyway. Because the only people that really get any sort of training are special forces, and even those guys in our military, they don't get a whole lot of actual fighting experience. None of them know how to do jiu-jitsu. They don't really know they don't get trained how to like, punch and kick. They get trained how to use their weapon systems and how to, do their, they do close quarter combat, but it's a lot of the time it's using their weapons, not using their hands. So yeah, like the guys like Jocko Willink that are like a black belts in jiu-jitsu and the special forces, I can't speak for the US military, only the Australian, but those guys are the exception, not the rule. If that makes sense. Yeah. So there is a course that you do that in the Australian Defence Force that is like hand-to-hand combat. And one of your students recently did it, and he came back and reported like what everyone says is you basically don't learn a lot because it's run by our physical training instructors, which our PTIs are like personal trainers. They're like very, very qualified PTs. They're not black belts. They're not jiu-jitsu experts. They're not they're taught how to teach the course. They go and teach it. And you only do that course in the Navy if you're in like a specific branch, or most commonly if you're doing boarding party qualifications. So all of our boarding party members have that qual, but they don't train it. They don't drill it. Like I think it's a 1 week course, or maybe it used to be 2, got shortened to 1. It's a 1 week course. And after you do it, it's like, yep, you can now be a boarding party for this qualification. And that's all it is.
One of our students recently did like a course in the Army Reserves. I don't know if that's just an Australian thing or if other countries have the reserves.
Yeah, they would have reserves,
yeah. And then so once a fortnight, he has to go to do the reserves. He said the other fortnight, he said it was awesome. He went to the barracks, and they pretty much, I think it's usually like 2 hours or 3 hours or something that this once a fortnight he goes, gets paid for it, tax free. And he said he went there and he was like, and the guy running it just said, all right, well, anyone who already trained, because lots of the people in the reserves also train jiu-jitsu in their just regular life. And he was like, all right, the guys who do jiu-jitsu, you guys can just roll. And so they just rolled, and then after that, they all went to the pub and had beers, and he was awesome. And I got paid for it.
That's so sick. That's so sick. That's mad. That's really good.
But yeah.
I mean, maybe it happens more in the Army, but in the Navy, we don't do any of that shit. Yeah. I didn't even get trained in weapon systems. I trained how to drive a ship, how to fight the ship. That's it.
Yeah, right.
Well, saying that's it, I got to navigate. I did a lot of training, but just, we don't need that because I'm on a warship.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And if you're on the bridge and you find yourself in a hand-to-hand combat situation,
my sailors have got out alive, bro.
Yeah. Or I was going to say,
be against my guys.
They would have had to have passed
fucking
quite
mutiny.
a lot of people to get to you by then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you can't whistle in the Navy. Like it's an old tradition, so it's not really enforced. But
so when you enlist, and they're like, "Can you whistle?" and you say, "Yes, sir," and they get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. You're not allowed to whistle because back in the day, whistling was a sign of mutiny.
Oh, really?
So they used it for communication and to be mutinous. So whistling is like a superstitious thing.
You're not allowed to whistle. Loud whistle. I wish I could. I can't.
Yeah, any whistling, not allowed. But obviously, it's not enforced.
Like.
It's like one of those traditions, those naval traditions.
But if you were just scrubbing toilets and you got caught like whistling while you're working away, you'd get in trouble.
Mutinous.
But would someone say something?
Got to walk the plank. No one would say anything. Someone might particularly if it's like a junior sailor, they might tell you the story, but it's not enforced. It's just one of those things.
Oh.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Don't whistle around me.
I know I walk into the gym tonight and everyone's whistling and you're just sitting in the corner, really ominous looking.
Maybe you'll have to smash us all again, Adam.
Oh, the fucking Thunderdome.
So I want to tell this story. For some reason, I think it was No-Gi Rob. Everyone knows No-Gi Rob.
It was No-Gi Rob.
He made a joke. He was like, oh, how about, because
this was at the end of class.
Yeah, it was the end of class. It was like 10 minutes. You wanted to do some stretching. And then No-Gi Rob was like, oh, how about you pass everyone's guard? Or like, how about we Shark Tank Adam or something like that?
Something, I can't remember what he said.
And then you were like, okay then. And then you pointed at me, get in the middle. And like you did this thing where
and then someone was like, oh, we Shark Tank Kieren. I'm like, nah, I'm passing all your guards.
Yeah, and then you decided to pass everyone's guard, but some people were cheating, which kind of annoyed me.
Some people, lots of people.
Yeah, and I had to go first. Bullshit. I'm fucking jaded, man. So I got smashed. So you passed everyone's guard or had like some stand up with them. Every single person.
Yeah,
in the
because
gym.
Rob just stood up straight away.
And then he gave everyone else the idea. And then
Samir stood up, who's a brown belt in judo.
Yeah, what the
and I was
fuck?
like, fuck.
That was pretty fun though. That was pretty cool. You actually got him. He tried to hip throw you at the end and you took his back.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Although
you
had
to go through everyone. There's like 15 of us.
I took down Samir last night with a beautiful Ochigari.
Oh, nice.
No one saw it. I was like, no one will believe me when I say I took down Samir. It's like no one saw it.
Yeah, so it was really weird. It was like you literally spent the last 10 to 15 minutes of the class
It
passing.
didn't take that long. Chill out.
Okay, 5 minutes of the class.
It took a little bit. It was like 10 minutes.
And you passed everyone's guard. There's like literally 15 of us, ranging from white to purple belt.
Yeah. I think it was mostly
blue belts. Yeah, blue and purple belts. And you fucking passed every single person's guard, one after the other, no break. And we were just like, watch it. It was
a
crazy.
bit of fun. It was harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's good.
Especially like
it's impressive.
Like Ollie and Edu, purple belts. They both went into deep half guard, so it was like, it was like a real grind to get past. And I had a stand up war with Samir for ages.
Yeah.
So it actually was harder than I thought. And then Rob was like, we should do this every Monday. And then every week we change the position, And so, next Monday we all start on your back and you've got to escape or whatever.
That would be fun. I'm going last set.
No, you're first every time.
It was a bit of fun. It was really interesting. And I think it was, maybe not something that you would want to do every Monday, but I think it just highlighted the fact that you're the coach for a reason and you can pass everyone's guard one after the other. And that was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I meant it like that.
I know you did. That's what I was thinking.
Rob's like, I don't know if this is true, but Rob and Brendan, both in the Navy, both a couple of 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right, in the gym.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because jiu-jitsu for them is that bit of an outlet because I assume at work they're not allowed to clown around as much as they do in the gym.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Right, because they're in the military. So they're going to be,
the junior officers under training. So
so they're not
happening.
So I assume that in the gym it's a bit more of an outlet where they can fool around. And I'm pretty lax, but sometimes I'm like, "Fuck you, Rob, pissing me off with all your
bullshit,
adolescent bullshit." And then so I was just like, "Yeah, fine, let's go."
Should have put Rob in first then.
I should have. Yeah. Rob tonight. Shark Tank, you in the middle.
Excellent.
But then Samir was like, next time we'll do it where like Samir's in the middle and everyone's got to do stand up with Samir, and he just like.
It's going to blast double. It's going to
yeah.
blast double. Attack that single leg. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, be aware of those weekend course, self-defense, never be stabbed again.
Train jiu-jitsu instead.
Yeah, that's what I recommend.
You all probably do, particularly if you got to 42 minutes on episode 102.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for listening, guys. Submit your questions for the upcoming Ask a Black Belt. That'll be episode 110. You know where to do it on our Instagram at @BeyondJujitsu_podcast. That's where my whippy reels are. They're very good.
Or you can actually just look at a link. I've put the link in the description on all platforms, including YouTube. So if you want a direct link, it's also in the description of this podcast now.
There you go.
Check it out.
But yeah, guys, until next episode, we'll report back on the banana crown as well.
If you don't know what that is, listen to last episode.
Yep.
Until
all
then.
right, guys. Later.